We have a huge problem. We just finished renovating the workshop, and now we don't even have a table to build anything on. If I don't solve this quickly, my entire business could grind to a halt. Therefore, I designed the ultimate assembly table, a heavy-duty workbench built from aluminum extrusion, destined to be the heart of the new workshop. And consider this your warning. If you watch until the end, you're probably going to want to build one yourself. At this point, I have multiple customers waiting, projects on hold, and a timeline that's breathing down my neck. Despite that, I've taken on an apprentice, a fantastic young man named Miguel, who's eager to learn from me. His first task is mastering the drill, which is crucial for prepping all the materials for this MFT centerpiece table. After a few tries, he nailed it. And with that milestone reached, we could move on to the next precision jig. Here's a great time-saving technique. We secure two 40-40 profiles together, so we can use our 40-80 quad freehand jig to drill them both simultaneously, speeding up the whole process. We pre-marked our extrusions, so now it's just a matter of sliding the jig neatly into position and locking it down. This method drastically cuts down on alignment time while guaranteeing precision across both profiles simultaneously. And once all 4 holes are drilled, we can release the jig and reveal the results. 4 perfectly aligned holes, ready for the next task. We've got more measuring to do, so it's a good time to lay out the core objectives for this MFT centerpiece table. For clean looks, we'll achieve that mainly through hidden blind joints, which are incredibly strong, and by tucking beefy, heavy-duty brackets completely out of sight. This thing needs to be a monster, holding over 300 kilos and so heavy it can't be moved by one person. And to top it all off, a full MFT grid will make it the ultimate clamping workstation. By sticking faithfully to these objectives, we're setting ourselves up to create the perfect final product, which you'll see come together as we go. Once I've verified all the holes are perfect, the next step is laying out more reference lines to ensure everything goes together accurately in the final assembly. Let me show you a game changer for 40 series aluminum, the spring leaf T-nut. This little spring keeps the nut propped up tight, so nothing works itself loose. In my experience, it blows the competition out of the water, and you can find it on our website. We'll pre-install all the T-nuts into their exact positions and prepare the bolts for the blind joints. Finally, for added strength, we'll fit the standard end fasteners. And just like that, all the material preparation is complete. Now, we can finally begin the main assembly. Because of our precise preparation, the assembly should be straightforward. Another key to this is using flush plates to ensure every joint is perfectly aligned, a method that's absolutely critical for a flawless build. That level of flush alignment defines a professional build. Furthermore, we've designed it so all the aluminum extrusion ends are concealed, contributing to the flawless final look. Now, let's talk about why I'm using blind joints for this build. It really comes down to 3 things: strength, aesthetics, and professionalism. Structurally, they create a much more rigid connection by locking everything together internally. Visually, they give us these incredible clean lines with no visible screws or brackets. And by combining this assembly method with flush plates, we can achieve a perfect result with remarkable speed and efficiency. We're almost done with this side of the table. The next step is to install plastic end caps on the bottom of the legs to protect the floor. And with that done, we'll set it aside and build an exact replica. The horizontal parts of the table will be supported with mid-bracings, a crucial feature designed to prevent the tabletop from sagging over time. The mantra for this build is simple: overkill. This table is going to bear a huge amount of weight for years to come, so the supports aren't just important, they're everything. We'll install all the bracings onto their pre-marked positions and secure them with a high final torque to ensure everything stays perfectly rigid. And once that's done, we'll flip it over and add extra brackets for maximum strength. Remember, the flush plates stay on throughout this process. You must be thinking, why black brackets? Simple answer, because I ran out of the silver ones. 1 bracket per mid-brace is sufficient. To speed things up, I've already got the brackets for the opposite side ready to go. At this point, we are ready to bring the assembled table sides, using blind joints to securely join them into one solid structure. So far, I've shared all the best tips and tricks with you. To help this channel reach a wider audience, please help smash all these buttons. For perfect perpendicular alignment, we're moving to the Carpenter square method to join these sections. The Carpenter square ensures both extrusions stay perfectly flat on the same exact plane. With 2 flush plates beneath, the joint is ready to be secured for good. I cannot stress enough that this method produces the best alignment with the simplest of tools. We're adding a couple of flush plates now to mount a large bracket, which will prevent the extrusions from being pulled out of alignment. Because with 8 sets of fasteners on this bracket, a specific tightening sequence is important. Otherwise, things can shift without you noticing. I'm excited to install this extrusion. It's a turning point. Once this piece is in, the assembly will speed up dramatically. This sequence fits my style, though there are certainly other valid approaches. Closing this corner requires feeding the bolts through the slots and carefully working them into the tapped extrusion ends. Paired with the Carpenter square method, this joint will be perfectly aligned. And with that done, we are going to speed up. We'll flip the structure right side up, install a corner bracket, lock down all the mid braces, and secure all the black brackets, just like the other side. To close up the other end of the table, we shall not reinvent the wheel. We'll repeat the exact same process to achieve identical results. And little by little, we've reached the point where the frame can support itself. By now, it's roughly 2 hours into our assembly, and there's still plenty of daylight. Let's set the frame aside for a moment and talk about the wood. This table needs custom-cut plywood where every hole, notch, and countersink must be perfectly precise. That's why I always rely on Eastcons for CNC work. I send him my 3D models, and he manufactures them to perfect dimensionally accurate specs, keeping my projects on track with 0 delays. And once the wood arrives, I only need to do some basic touch-ups, just like any carpenter would. For these, I'd like to sand down the rough sides and probably add a little chamfer on the top edges, since the wood is going to be laid directly on top of the frame. I've intentionally specified thick, dense, heavy plywood, with each corner neatly notched to fit around the legs. And take a look, this is how well Eastcons did it for me. As well as the pre-made holes, I can easily locate all the spring leaf T-nuts and fasten every countersunk bolt without having to lift the wood again. This is exactly why you need super reliable partners, and that's another pro tip for you. Each countersunk bolt was threaded by hand first, then tightened down with the hand drill. After that, I couldn't resist. I had to test the table right away, putting my 80 kilos to see how it holds. There's one more section to build. My apprentice has left for the day, so I'll use flush plates again to manage the task alone. Adding a flush plate to each corner lets me suspend the top section exactly where it needs to be, completely hands-free. And all I need to do is lift the assembled frame, carefully position it in place, guide each internal bolt to the correct depth, and hammer them down. Using this method, I've assembled countless frames alone. And once again, the flush plates lock in perfect alignment every time, guaranteeing a flawlessly assembled frame for the heart of the workshop. If you already found a use for a table like this, the design is on our website, along with all the precision drilling jigs, components, and tools for your own build. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you choose a butcher block for the tabletop. Alright, now that the frame is fully assembled, we can remove all the flush plates that held everything in alignment, because their job is done. We'll bring all the spring leaf T-nuts back into position to get ready for the tabletop. And by now, I can no longer lift the table alone. This is the most critical component and also the heart of our project. Since so many other structures will be built on this surface, I'm giving this plywood the respect it deserves. First, we sand all 4 sides thoroughly, add a slight chamfer to the edges, and make the top as smooth as possible. After that, we'll move it into place, align all edges flush with the frame, and start fastening it down. Unlike the other plywood, we can drive a countersunk bolt directly through the wood and straight into the aluminum frame. With this many bolts in place, we know the tabletop isn't going anywhere. We'll also need to sink the bolts slightly below the wood surface. I'll torque them with the drill, then finish by hand carefully, bit by bit. And with that, we have completed our assembly. But we are not done yet. Without protecting the wood and without applying aesthetics, nothing is over yet. If you've seen my builds before, you know I always go the extra mile. These slot covers are a staple in our videos. They hide unused slots and drilled holes while adding a sleek black stripe to the frame's aesthetic. Slot covers keep dirt and dust from building up in unused slots. I'll seal the ones I won't need but leave the top open for future clamping setups. Of course, there's plenty to cover and it's starting to strain my fingers. And when that happens, I switch to other methods to get them in. No matter what, I have to finish this task. This table will be the centerpiece of future videos, and if I don't do it right now, you'll notice later. But if you're not subscribed yet, you'll miss our upcoming videos on aluminum extrusion builds. Therefore, get these buttons pressed and you'll not miss anything. I'm sealing the wood with orange oil to protect it from moisture and harden the surface. I'm coating the top, sides, and bottom to ensure this table lasts for years. After 2 coats, the wood is sealed and the MFT Centerpiece Assembly Table is complete. We'll add our logo plate to both ends of the table, then show you exactly how we use it to run our business in our workshop. The table is built at the ideal height for standing work. All our unpacking happens here, with smaller components sorted below for easy access. With the table centered in the shop, the whole team can work around it easily. And when I perform my drilling tasks, there are so many ways to clamp down the workpiece with confidence and rely on the sturdy table for stability. When I'm feeling down for that day, I can watch Taylor Swift as I work, and also pay attention to news about Donald Trump. And yes, I keep myself very updated on global matters. If you watched my last video on the display cabinet, you'll recognize these acrylic panels from that build. And thanks to the accurate holes in this MFT table, I can set up many different clamping options with these tools and gadgets. Safety is key in my work, so I use bench dog clamps to secure workpieces firmly and prevent my projects from falling off the table. And with full access from underneath the top, even the clamps can be locked in securely, removing any risks from slipping altogether. Some tasks need different types of bench dogs, like for squaring up structures. And since the MFT holes are precision drilled, I can always trust this table for perfect 90-degree assemblies. In other cases, we use clamps that apply direct downward pressure, another way to hold materials firmly and a reminder of the wide range of clamping options this table offers. And now for the biggest question, what have we built using this heavy-duty workbench? Customers ask us to build all kinds of structures, like these massive 3.6-meter-long frames, meant for data centers. This assembly table lets us clamp the extrusion securely so we can work safely. For our own workshop, we also built a storage rack to hold all our boxes, a much-needed organization solution. We also get requests from our YouTube viewers for custom projects, all of which are assembled on this table. And sometimes, we sponsor events, like building this massive projector screen stand which is way too large to lay it flat for assembly. For our female clients, we create pieces like this makeup table with drawers. And for our male clients, large builds like this custom bicycle rack system. But sometimes a project is so large we have to move this table against the wall and use custom-built stands for assembly. And of course, there are many more projects to build and many more techniques to share. To learn more, here are a few videos packed with skills you can use. I'll wait for you there.